I'll go ahead and get started. Good afternoon, and I want to thank everyone for being here today. We are here, unfortunately, because the union representing a group of 180 supervisors at CNBC have set up picket lines at CNBC facilities, effectively shutting down the bus system and SeaBus and disrupting the lives of hundreds of thousands of people in our region. Coast Mountain Bus Company was working hard to reach a compromise with the union and prevent this all day yesterday and Saturday through mediation. But unfortunately, CNBC informs us that the union continues to demand far higher wage increases than their colleagues. This is disappointing and frustrating. This is unfair to our customers. The people of this region do not deserve to be caught in the middle of this dispute. Over 300,000 people rely on the bus system to get around Metro Vancouver every single day. That is a substantial amount of this region's population that woke up this morning stranded. Thousands of workers that couldn't get to work at healthcare facilities, daycare facilities, care homes, retail stores, offices, construction sites. Thousands of students that couldn't get to post-secondary campuses and schools. Thousands of extra cars on the road. Look, this dispute is between CNBC and CUPE Local 4500, but TransLink oversees customer impacts and the financial health of the organization. A 13.5% wage increase over 3 years was accepted by all other CNBC unions, BCRTC unions, and other public sector unions across the province. And I understand that CNBC even improved on its original offer and addressed the union's demands regarding workload issues. CNBC has advised us that the union still wants significantly more than any other union has settled for, but I've got to say now is not the time. And that's because at TransLink, we are facing a fiscal crisis. I have been transparent with the public over the last year that TransLink is facing a structural deficit of $4.6 billion over the next 10 years. We are feeling system pressures. Our system is already overcrowded, our region is growing, and it is going to get worse. We estimate that the ripple effect of the union's demands on other future contracts to be in the order of $250 million. That is $250 million on top of a $4.6 billion deficit over 10 years. Look, the fact is that CNBC's transit supervisors and maintenance supervisors and TCOM supervisors, I know many of them. They are good people. They work hard. They do great work for our customers, and they keep our system moving every single day. But this is not the time to be fighting for significantly more than what everyone else got. I urge the parties to return to the bargaining table and to resolve the dispute because this strike has too much impact on our customers who count on us. CNBC has conveyed to me that they are ready and willing at any time to get back to the table and get a deal done. Thank you so much. I'm happy to take any questions.
What's the latest with the labor relations application? Has a schedule been made? And what is Transit's position on the application?
So my understanding is that a hearing has not been scheduled at this time. We don't expect a hearing to be set for today or tomorrow, and so as a result, there will not be any impacts to SkyTrain, Expo, Millennium, Canada Lines, and West Coast Express.
Within the 48-hour time frame that they set out?
Yeah, until the hearing, that's
okay,
right.
And then what's the position? What is the argument? Your argument for their application?
Yeah, I think our position is that we absolutely have the right to inform our customers of options that they have. We have the ability to inform our customers that SkyTrain is available, that other services are available in the event bus is not available.
There's one virtual, if you want to go to this 48-hour period, do you have any idea what happens after that? Are the supervisors planning to return to work? Could they take more job action in the future beyond that?
I think that's a great question for CUPE 4500 in terms of what their plans are. I would urge them to cease this strike action immediately and the impacts that it's having to the region and the economy of this region. But in terms of their future plans, I think that's a good question for them. I would strongly encourage both the union and CNBC to get back to the negotiating table and get a deal done.
My understanding is that the 4,500 is asking for a wage increase that's out of line with what other similar roles have requested. What would that mean for TransLink in terms of additional costs via Me-Too clauses?
Sure, yeah, it's a good question. So the waging, let me back up. You know, at TransLink, we have a series of operating companies, Coast Mountain Bus Company, BCRTC, SkyTrain. And so historically, you know, many of the unions across the TransLink enterprise do look at other union negotiated agreements for either formal Me Too clauses or even informally to ask for what other members got. And so we believe that absolutely applies here, that there would be, as a result of what the union has asked for, these ripple effects that would happen on other contracts that, in our estimation, amount to $250 million over a 10-year period. Again, you know, we sit here today with coming out of the pandemic, a $4.6 billion deficit over 10 years. We fortunately have been the recipient of provincial and federal government funding that has allowed us to stay stable through the end of 2025. But the fact is that it is not financially responsible to dig that hole any deeper. And again, I would encourage the union to accept a fair and reasonable offer that CNBC has put on the table that is fair and you know, equivalent to what they've given to other unions and that they've accepted.
If I could ask a follow-up question briefly. The union's line has been that while they're asking for a bigger percentage, they say there are gaps between what their supervisors make and what other supervisors make across the transit system. Is that true? Can you offer some comparators of what
Yeah.
their salaries are actually at?
Yeah, I've got to say, I think it's a good question for CNBC. It's a pretty kind of detailed negotiating question. I think it's a good question for CNBC.
Sorry, at what point are you considering asking the government for intervention of things like back to work or anything of that nature? Would you consider that if they call another strike or another strike action takes place?
Yeah, I'd say, you know, we are in contact with the province. The province is very much on top of this file, and I think I share their desire that both parties re-engage, come back to the negotiating table in good faith, and reach a negotiated agreement.
Thanks. We'll now go to reporters on the line.
Okay, we have Mike Hager. Mike Hager, here you can hear yourself.
Mike, if you can hear us, it's your turn for a question if you have one.
Mike, you're muted.
Sorry about that. Can you tell me of that more than 300,000 daily bus riders, how many are commuters? And then CUPE 4500 just said they want to bridge that discrepancy in wages with other supervisors, other TransLink supervisors. They need that wage discrepancy closed. So what are they saying if you're saying that they're not going to accept the raises that everyone else has accepted recently? Would that raise still put them below other TransLink supervisors?
Yeah, so I don't have the breakdown of commuters. I mean, those 300,000 people that are on our system every day, all of them are commuters. Every single one of them is trying to get around the region and commute, whether that's to work or medical appointments, whatever it is, right? Those are 300,000 people on that system. And so their lives are being disrupted today by this strike action. As it relates to CNBC supervisors, my understanding is the union is looking at parity between the CNBC supervisors, and maybe this is what your question was getting at, CNBC supervisors and SkyTrain supervisors. You know, my understanding from CNBC is that those are two very different positions, that SkyTrain supervisors essentially have a responsibility to hire, fire, and manage employees. Transit supervisors do not hire, fire, or manage any employees. They're responsible to be out on the system, to manage incidents as they happen, and to respond accordingly. And so I believe CNBC's position is that these are two different supervisory positions that do not have any parity.
The next one.
And sorry, just one more follow-up before Alana. Sorry, Alana. Can we, if you've answered this earlier, apologies, I couldn't hear the question. But if they want to continue picketing, say Wednesday, if talks don't progress, would they have to apply again? Is it your understanding they're allowed to do that?
I think that's a question for CUPE in terms of what they would do next. My understanding is they could at any time announce any type of job action for whatever period of time. It's very confusing and very disruptive to our riders.
I'll jump in next. I'm not sure if this was asked because I couldn't hear the questions, but can you speak to the SkyTrain service? I know there was some confusion about that possibly not operating later today. Could you just speak to that?
Sure. So the reason behind that had to do with a labor board hearing. So that hearing would rule upon whether SkyTrain would be impacted by not. The fact is the hearing has not been scheduled at this time, and so we don't expect a hearing to be set for today or tomorrow. And as a result, there will be no impact to SkyTrain, Expo, Millennium, Canada Lines, or West Coast Express tomorrow.
Thank you.
No further questions online. Anybody else in the room? Yeah, go ahead.
I'll go for a few more. The union says that one of its
One more, and one follow-up, Zach.
Okay. The union says that one of its other issues beyond just money is overwork. And I understand CNBC has already made some commitments to hire more transit supervisors, but I wonder if you can loan some insight into this. Why does this group of employees feel so burnt out or overworked, understaffed, however you want to say it?
I can't speak to that. That's a good question for CNBC.
Any more?
Is there a long-term plan on behalf of TransLink and Coast Mountain Bus Company in the event that this job action extends for an extended period of time? It's been a while, but I think in 2001, it was 6 or 8 weeks. The bus drivers were on strike, and that obviously caused incredibly major economic disruption.
Yeah, I think at this time we're planning on this 48-hour period and really focused on that and being sure that our customers know what's going on. We keep them up to date. You know, again, I'm encouraging both parties really get back to the table so that we don't have any type of long-term dispute that's out there.
Thanks, everybody.
Oh, there's one more on group two, sorry. Mike Hager, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks again. Wanted to know if you're ramping up any SkyTrain service to try and bridge that gap in bus routes, or if you have any other measures, any other levers that can be pulled.
No, my understanding is that no, BCRTC has not increased any SkyTrain service in response to the bus strike.
Great, thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you to everyone who helped me set that gear. You get it running. I've never seen a press conference like this started right down. So that's good. That's awesome.
Sorry,
Awesome,
Sean, I
except
had no
in this
idea it
case.
was, I would have called you back if I didn't.
Oh, no, it's all good. You guys all good? We'll roll.
Hi, thank you for coming today. My name is Liam O'Neill. I'm National Representative for the Canadian Union Public Employees and representative also for CUPE 4500. As you know, CUPE 4500 members have withdrawn services today from Coast Mountain Bus. CUPE 4500 has put in a solid effort to try to find compromise with Coast Mountain. CUPE 4500 has worked very hard at trying to achieve a deal with Coast Mountain at the table. We've provided compromise and solutions, and in an effort to avoid these service disruptions. We're not interested in bargaining in the media, and yet Coast Mountain Bus seem more interested in assigning blame and to smearing our members than to getting a deal. We've worked very hard. We just went through over 20 hours of talks with Coast Mountain with the assistance of a mediator. And while we brought solutions and compromise, Coast Mountain Bus simply tried to bully us into accepting their proposals. There is a long-standing wage discrepancy that we're trying to fix. In TransLink, our members do the same work as other supervisors in TransLink, and yet they're paid less. We need to fix that wage discrepancy, and we're trying to do that. As an example, the additional cost to Coast Mountain Bus in order to fix that wage discrepancy, it would cost them annually less than an additional 0.05% of their annual budget for salary, benefits, and wages. And yet they still refuse to fix this wage discrepancy. Our proposal package that we've provided, we believe is reasonable and fair, not only for our members, but for Coast Mountain. Thank you.
So just an hour ago, the CEO of TransLink said that the supervisory positions that you're seeking to be on par with are different because the people in those roles are responsible for hiring, firing, and supervising people, whereas they say that the bus supervisors are responsible for supervising incidents and helping ensure the system is running smoothly, but not hiring, firing, and supervising staff.
Well, they're trying to mince words here. The supervisors that we're referring to do not directly hire. They're not in charge of and make the decisions to hire, fire, or discipline. But when you look at the full job description and what they do, no two jobs are identical, and yet the job that the supervisors do at 4500 is on par with what they do in other areas of TransLink.
For the general public, seeing a request for a 25% wage increase over 3 years, that doesn't seem realistic for a lot of people in their own jobs. How do you justify that kind of request in 1 3-year period?
Yeah, so we've never had a across the board 25% wage increase. Again, this is, we don't want to negotiate in the media. What Coast Mountain and or TransLink put out as far as wages does not reflect the discussions that happened at the table. So I'll leave that to them to answer for.
Earlier, Kevin and Quinn said that the issue with granting a wage increase to supervisors is that may trigger Me Too clauses in other contracts around the TransLink region. He said that he believes this will cost $250 million over the next 10 years. You framed it in terms of CNBC's, their expenses would be. But I wonder how you respond to that argument that granting this increase would have a big ripple effect.
It does not have any ripple effect at all. There is no Me Too clause for our supervisors. So this again is Coast Mountain and or TransLink trying to play with words and try to negotiate in the media when they know full well there's no Me Too clause at all.
You said earlier that it was not true that you look for a 25% wage increase across 100 years, and I know that you're not actually negotiating the media, but I wonder if that statement was patently false, are you seeking, for example, an unfair labor practice
we're more focused at trying to get a deal at the table than to try to negotiate through the media and to, we're not going to stoop to the tactics of Coast Mountain, and we're not going to fall to their level of how they like to try to address things. If they spent more time trying to get a deal at the table than to try to smear us in public, we'd already have a deal.
They say they're ready to go back to the table right now, during this period of job action. Are you prepared to go to negotiate? When are you prepared to go back to the table? Because they say they're ready to go right now.
Yeah, well, I mean, they say a lot of things, and we're just at the table. And like I said, we're willing to go to the table if they're willing to negotiate, but they're not. They're not willing to negotiate. They just arrive at the table and they try to bully us into accepting their proposal. That's not how you negotiate. So sitting down at a table and them just trying to bully the proposals they have and them bringing no compromise or no solutions, that'll never get us there. If they have solutions in compromise, we're willing to sit down and look at that.
There's a 48-hour schedule for this job action. At the end of that period, what happens next from your perspective?
So we will continue with our overtime ban, and then clearly we don't have a deal now, so we'll have to plan our next escalation. Obviously, it's going to be an escalation, which means more than the current one. I'm sure that we'll be announcing something at some point. And as soon as we figure that out, we'll let you know.
Can you talk about your application to the Labor Relations Board, your complaint to them, and what you are hoping to be able to accomplish based on whatever comes out of that?
Yeah, which complaint? We have a couple.
The one about wishing to take it outside of, in a more broad range of areas.
Right, so we do have a complaint in with the board, and that's with the board right now, and we're waiting for that to go through that process. So we can't really comment on that until the board hears it, and so we're just going to wait for that process to go through.
But why do you want to expand your picket areas?
Well, if, it's a ally application, so if if we're successful, then TransLink and or SkyTrain would be acting as an ally to Coast Mountain, and that we would have that right. So, but again, we're just going to allow that to go through the process and let the board determine that.
You said you had a couple applications into the labor board. What's the other one?
The other one is a 68, so it's using illegal replacement workers. But we're gonna, we're gonna let these things work through what they work through. Again, we're just gonna allow the process to happen there, and
Can you expand on the substance of that complaint though? Like, I haven't heard of any allegations that I'm using scabs. That's new.
yeah, I can't really, I'm not gonna comment on that right now. We'll just let that go through the process.
I wonder what you would say to commuters this morning. Some of whom I'm sure support the workers. Others whom other people may have felt inconvenienced, may have felt irate the fact they couldn't get to work in the morning. What do you say to the general public?
Yeah, again, we've done everything we could. Our members, they know they're the main part of their job. What they do every day is to try to make sure that there's a service that they provide to the public, and they're very proud of what they do. So having to take this action is not an easy thing for us to do, for our members to do. Again, we've done everything we could. We did an overtime ban. We've provided compromise. We went through mediation, but this employer is just unwilling to deal with the issue of the wage discrepancy that exists, and we've had no choice.
So Coast Mountain Bus uses language like unrealistic. What goes through your mind?
Yeah, I mean, they say a lot of things that, it's realistic and it's fair and it's easy to understand that when workers from one group do the same job as they do in another group, they should be paid the same wages. So if they're saying it's unrealistic to be paid fairly, that's fine. I'll let them say that. And I'm more focused on trying to get a deal at the table, and I'd love for them to address our issues.
Okay, thank you very much for joining us today. We'll be in touch.
Could you just say and spell your name?
It's Liam O'Neill,
And last name, can you spell it?
O''Neill.
Perfect, thank you. Come on.